This week on The Riff, Drew and Martz talk about family. You know, the people who know exactly how to push your buttons because they helped install them. We hope today is helpful. Thanks for listening.
It's time for The Riff.
Good after morning, noon, nighttime.
Welcome back to The Riff, John Martz.
It's good to be back. I feel like this chair is a little bit different.
I
Justin was in
did
it.
accomplish that was the thing. I accomplished one of our goals as I got Justin back in here while
Come
you were
on.
out.
We've been trying for so long, and it just took an absence for him to make it.
Yeah,
I
he
love
made
it.
his appearance.
He what?
He made his appearance.
Oh, I thought you said something about his parents.
Oh, well, no.
Oh,
Yeah.
Kathy?
They're lovely people.
They are wonderful people.
Yeah, wonderful people.
Oh my word! By the way, have you met everybody's parents on the team? Like a majority of people's parents.
I've met Cage's parents for sure. Met your parents.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have to think about it.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. When you look at somebody,
Hoffman's.
there you go. I met your parents.
Yep.
When you meet somebody and then you meet your parents, you're like, okay. Like I see.
Jody's mom, Deb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh my word.
It does make sense.
This is great because this is actually what we're talking about today. And I actually thought you said parents.
Yeah.
So that's unique.
Yeah.
Wait, I actually haven't told you what we're talking about today.
Yeah,
So-
I don't even know yet. Hey, you were just in Latvia.
Latvia.
I had like 9 people
Latvia.
ask me, like, where's Martz been? Where's Martz been? I was
Latvia,
like,
just,
and I was only 60% sure it's actually where you were.
Even my parents will come up to me and they're like, how's Lithuania? And I was like, well, you're close. And honestly, I don't even know how close because I'd have to look on a map. But,
Yeah.
The plane just takes you there.
Yeah, it sure was. I don't even know. It's in talk to me like I'm an idiot. It's in Eastern Europe.
It is a Baltic country. Yes.
So I know
Eastern
like
Europe.
Ukraine, then some stuff west of there.
See, you might be more advanced than me.
Yeah. I only know Ukraine because,
I think
history.
Estonia's over by there.
Yeah.
I think there's some, absolutely. So
If you describe Latvia to someone who's never been there and probably never going, give us
there
a
we go.
rundown.
I went to the capital, Riga, and it is very unique because it's like a city, but there's parks every other block. It's beautiful. So when you think Baltic, maybe sometimes you don't think that. You think a little gloomier, but it was absolutely beautiful. There is nothing like exploring the world and then coming back home to America. I've never been more patriotic.
I want to kiss the ground.
When you land back and there's a Whataburger right there.
Yeah.
The small is like the equivalent of a double XL in Europe. You get ice and free refills and there's air conditioning, and I loved it. And it was beautiful. And it kind of didn't need air conditioning, but I tell you, there's nothing like being back home in America.
You go to US of A.
4th of July, when the Americans are in the World Cup, and anytime you're coming back from Europe, most patriotic I've ever been.
100%. Best meal you had in Latvia. What did the Latvians eat?
Oh, that's good. A lot what Americans eat. So it was a lot of the same
Food.
stuff. Yeah, it was all good though.
Nice.
Yeah, nothing
back.
too bad. Okay, here's what we are talking about today. And I just came up with this. I titled it Family Matters.
Ooh.
Oh, I don't even know where we're going to go with it, but here's what I want to talk about. There's been something stirring. I think everyone is curious about this, especially when you look at your family unit, whether it's your marriage or your kids, or maybe you're an aunt or an uncle and you've got, you've got a niece and a nephew, or, like, what does it look like to lead your family well spiritually?
Yeah.
And whether you're a mom, whether you're a dad, whether you're a niece, nephew, like whatever it is, I'm curious from your standpoint. Obviously, you've had some years of experience.
Yeah.
You've probably had some years of experience where you've done nothing.
Yeah.
You maybe had some years of experience where you've been really intentional in something. You probably had some years of experience where you feel like you've nailed it and feels like you're losing it. Like, walk me through any rhythms that you have, whether that's with your kids, whether that's with your spouse.
Yeah.
That's been helpful, or maybe that's not the right way of looking at it.
Yeah. This is where I'm probably gonna be wildly disappointing. Because I think for me, I just, so much of what I think about goes to like the example that you set and the words that you say more than the structures and systems that you keep.
So caught, not taught.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that that's the way to do it. I'm just saying that the way Kristen and I are wired, both of us are fairly, Kristen's like a hippie. Like at her heart, she's like free spirit artist, like take it as it comes, and she's become a lot more structured since we had kids because you have to be. But like kind of a picture, like before we had kids, Kristen ran a photography and art business. And so she worked for herself, did her own thing. She would get this creative thing at like 11 o'clock at night and then just be behind in the studio working on her computer doing her thing till like 2 or 3 in the morning and then sleep till like 10 or 11 a.m. And then we had kids and then I was like, well, shoot, the baby's up at 6. What happens now? So Kristen didn't own a watch and didn't care what time it was.
Word, that's amazing.
For like years of her life. It was like, hey, on
how freeing was that?
Yeah, like on her work days, like shoot days where she was doing weddings or things, she was highly structured because she needed to be. But left to her druthers, she's a hippie.
I still don't know what druthers are.
Druthers, you'll find out one day.
Okay, one day.
It's the would you rathers. What would you rather do?
Oh,
it's what? Your druthers.
I would not.
She'd rather stay up till 3 in the morning and sleep till 10 or 11.
Yeah. Oh wow. You would have given me 1,000 guesses. I would have never guessed that.
Yeah. That's the so she's a night owl anyway. And I'm kind of that way too in a sense. Like so we're pretty free flowing. Neither one of us are great at sticking to like this regimen. Neither one of us are type A people. So when it comes to like,
so to sit down and be like, and here's our plan, and we're going to do this every week, it'd be kind of counter. Yeah. That'd be different than everything in your relationship.
Yeah. And so like I think like I don't have this like great devotional thing that I've been doing for 14 years in this long-term strategic plan to form my family in a certain way. We talk pretty openly. We pray. Like church has always been a priority before I ever worked at one. It wasn't because good religious Christian people go to church. It's like, it's a discipline of like, hey, this is what we do. We read our Bibles. It's not uncommon for Chris and I to wake up, get coffee, and like read our Bible. And so it's not uncommon for our kids to like see that, I think for me, that's like what I caught the most from my parents, also being like a preacher's kid, is like my parents were just consistent in the way they treated people. They love people really well. And so for me, like to grow up in a Christian environment in a Jesus-centered home, it meant that you loved other people. Our house was always open. There was always people over at our house. My parents were always feeding people. Like we had like random people, not random, but people in the church that needed a place to end up living in our extra room in our house for months at a time. It was like like as a kid, you just normalize these things. And so for me, loving Jesus always meant loving other people well, so pursuing God always resulted in loving others. And so I think for me, I just think about the example that you set for your family. I think about that regularly. Like my kids now see me like preaching every Sunday. Well, I better dang well be the same person they see on Mondays. They shouldn't be like, oh, that's the preacher version of my dad. And I think about that regularly because that was my dad. He was the same person. And so for me, like that's like the model I had set for me. And so that's what I think about. So we've done devotionals. We'll do those things. Like the Bible is part of my kids' education and what we're doing. So we do have some systematic things we're doing in that place where we're teaching them the Bible. But you want to teach them that, but also like how you treat people. So it's conversations in the car. It's the, hey, did you notice this? Hey, I want you to think about that. Hey, here's why we do things. Here's why we serve at the church. Like, here's why we, so I think it's a lot of those like coming alongside and do what we do, how we're doing it. And then my kids are at an age now where it's like, hey, let's just have a conversation about why we do what we do. And when I notice something, I bring it up. And so they'll have questions about other experiences with other kids, they're observing things. So they notice things all the time. So like, hey, let's talk about that. I don't know if that's helpful at all, but to me, it's the walking alongside and then ensuring that you're talking about things they have. Hey, did you notice that? I'm trying to think of a good example, but even just like sports, certain kids like behave a certain way on sports teams, even they're little, and like, hey, why do you think they act that way? What do you think they're really looking for? I have 2 sons, so it's not uncommon for boys to be competitive and weird and like put down other boys on the sports team because they want to look better or to, things like that. I'm like, hey, why do you think they do that? To get them to realize like, oh, maybe they're actually hurting. Maybe they actually don't have, validation at home. This might sound weird and like judgy, but like I've even like certain kids, how their parents interact with them during games or after games or things like that, where it's like the dad's yelling at the kid for, I'm like, hey, how do you think that made him feel? And so I don't want my kids to be like judging other people, but I also want them to be evaluating our interactions and how it looks to have a loving home. So anyway, man, that's like a super long-winded
No, it's great.
response.
I'm curious, has that always been that way? Or were there things in younger years where things look different? I know you have two boys. Both are in high school now?
One's going into high school, 7th and 9th grade.
Okay, 7th and 9th grade.
It's weird.
So I know so I had a lot of ideals when I first had a kid.
Yeah.
Right. I was like, oh, we're going to do this. It's going to look like this. And I'm just going to be great. And, let's quickly go out the window because you realize, like I've always seen as like 0 to 5 is probably more like the discipline years. It is. You're keeping them alive and you're like, hey, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't pick up those scissors and run, right? You're really like walking through that. And then kind of the elementary years I've seen as more training years. Like I'm training you on how to do different things. Hey, try this. Let's do it this way. Let's do it together. I've seen, the middle school years, I anticipate them being more coaching years. Right. Where I'm like, or middle school, high school is like, hey, I want to be your coach. I'm not trying to, I can't do this for you. And I don't want that to be discipline years. Like I would rather that be coaching. I'd rather be like, hey, what do you think a better way to do that would be? Right. I'm hoping to ask better questions for them to see things in a different way. And then, you kind of hope the 18 plus years are just like once they hit 18, like friendship. Yeah. Like that's what I'd hope.
That's the ideal.
Right. And I'd hope you'd come back and ask for a coaching moment from here and there. But hopefully no discipline and training still need to happen. Like hopefully those happened when they needed to happen. But like when your boys were younger, I know, I'm like, what did things look different? And not even necessarily does it have to be with the kids, but even with Kristen, where you're like, hey, we've tried this, we've done this, we went through when we had young kids, we had to do it this way. Yeah. I don't know, to still make your marriage a priority. What does that look like?
Yeah, I think sometimes I hesitate to give like parenting advice because I'm like, well, wait till see how mine turn out. You know what I mean?
True.
I'm like, well, but I think like what I've learned in like watching people, and I'm a big fan of talking to people 10, 15 years older than me. I was with some North Pointers this morning and their kids are all out of the house and they were like, parenting adult kids is the hardest part. I was like, no, what do you mean? And they were like, because you have to watch them as adults make decisions that you don't agree with, but they're adults. And so they go through this phase.
It's like, I don't know, the toddler phase is pretty hard.
Yeah. I'm like, do you remember what 3 a.m. diaper changes look like? But like that emotionally, it's like, well, they don't even live in your house anymore. And you're watching from a distance and wondering if they're making safe decisions. So anyway, it's interesting. Like you always think the next season's going to be like easier than it is. I think if I go in the rear view mirror, what you just said, I think is critical on the discipline years of like 0 to 5. Like if you don't do it then, this is my opinion, like you're going to you will be doing it when they're in middle school and high school. And it's way harder then. I think it was my dad. He was talking about like, I think he was using the analogy of like diaper changes when they're little. He's like, hey, if you don't change them now, you can't change them later. And like this idea of like, there's some stuff that in the formational years of how do you deal with certain things. I got some like nuggets people gave me, so I'm just regurgitating wisdom from other people. But if you don't change them now, like you can't change them later. Like you have to understand one thing. Here's an unlock someone gave me. They're like, when they're little, you need to understand the difference between childishness and rebellion. They're like, because childish and rebellion are both annoying as a parent. At the end of your day, when you're like tired and they're just being loud, crazy, obnoxious, whatever. And sometimes their childishness is super like obnoxious. And I know there's better parents than me. They're like, I don't know what you're talking about, Drew. But they're like, in that moment when you're frustrated, like divide that, like, are they being childish or is it rebellious? Because you don't want to squelch their childlikeness. Like you don't want to like, a 3-year-old's going to be loud and rowdy and like just whatever. Like they're just being a kid. So don't let you, when you're at your low moments being annoyed with your kids being little kids, don't then punish them or make them or put them down or try to squelch their childishness. At the same time, if it's rebellion, like the outright saying no, defiant stuff, that it's human nature, like you have to find a way to correct that early and often, because rebellion and childishness are both frustrating, but you don't want to overcorrect on childishness because you'll create tensions that aren't worth having, and you're going to hurt the child emotionally in ways that aren't helpful. But at the same time, the rebellion thing, you're letting the world down if you don't correct the rebellion, because later on, if you are hoping to be their friend when they're 18, but if you try to be their friend when they're 3,
yeah.
They're not the friend at 3
I agree.
or 5 or 7.
And half of, when I think about the discipline phase, I say that in a way of too, it's like, it's a discipline for you too. Like,
oh yeah,
you are restructuring, reformatting your life. And you're like, what are the things they're going to catch that I'll never teach them, but they'll see in me that are not so good. That you are then disciplining yourself of like, I want to be better in this way. I want to, this is how I'm always going to treat my wife, right? Like, like early on in marriage, there are conversations where you're like, if your kids heard that now, you'd be like, are you kidding? Like, I would never want that to be presented.
Yeah.
But as you're navigating those things, you're disciplining yourself as well.
Yeah, you don't think, I said on Sunday, like, you don't think you're selfish until you get married. And you don't really know you're selfish until you have kids.
Dude, yeah.
Like, having kids is the most selfless thing you can do. Like, you're literally laying your life down for another human who doesn't even appreciate it for a long time, And
it exposes every selfish bone in your body, but it doesn't mean it cures every selfish bone in your body.
Right.
You just know it's there now.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes even worse. Because you still choose it.
And
sometimes.
there's so many layers to it, because then you realize that God sees you like as a father. You're like, wow. Because at the same time, my kids get on my nerves, and I'm sure like God doesn't. I don't think I get on God's nerves, but there's probably times he's up there shaking his head like, for real, Drew?
Is that just childishness?
Yeah, it's childish.
I don't think he's being rebellious.
It's rebellion.
I think it's just childishness.
Yeah, I think it's like that thing of like, man, parenting is awesome because it's just such a deep thing. It does deep work in you, and it's like it's incredible. But I think. Yeah, it's those phases and love the phase that you're in, and don't. My brother said this to me. He was like, "Hey, don't wish your kid's life away."
Yeah.
Because I was the person when they were newborns. I'm like, well, I can't wait until they're old enough to hold their head up. Once they can hold their head up, I was like, I can't wait until they're old enough to like not be in diapers, or like when they're crying and you're trying to troubleshoot a crying baby, and like, well, last time. If I patted them this way, they stop crying, but now I'm trying, it's not working. Like I can't wait till they can just tell me, like, and then looking at the next season that you think is going to be easier and better, and then missing the season you're in. My brother's kids are just a few years older. He was like, man, I'd give anything to go back and hold a baby. And if I had to change diapers to do it, it would be worth it. Don't wish your kid's life away. I was like, man, that's a nugget. Because I was always looking at the next phase. Every phase of like kids, it's like, man, there are parts that are challenging. And there's parts that are awesome, and you lose both. They'll outgrow the challenging parts that they're in, but they're also going to outgrow those awesome parts that they're in. So like embrace the awesome, love it, and then the challenging parts of that season, just know that this too shall pass. You're not always going to be waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning to a crying baby. You're not always going to be changing a blowout diaper in the lobby of the church. You're not always going to be carrying that car seat that's super heavy. You're not always going to have like, well, we got to get home because of bedtime. You're not always going to have those things. Right now, I'm in the phase where my kids' sports schedules are like running my life. And sometimes it's frustrating. It's like, man, it's been off this summer, but like football and soccer is kicking off again. Here we go. But I'm going to miss going to my kids' games one day. Mm-hmm. And so, but it's easy to be like, oh man, we got like.
Yeah. When I got 6 this week, I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
Then you're like, man, this is like, I wish I could go hang out on a Tuesday night, but I can't because I got practice. And so, but soon my oldest is going to have a car and be driving, and I'll be like, where's he at? I wish he was still here, So.
Give me, and I know I'm putting you on the spot, best parenting advice you've ever gotten. I know you've already dropped some nuggets and, said some, and probably the best parenting advice is the advice you've actually taken and used. So, it may not be the most profound thing.
I think like
what you do.
I think things have changed over years, and like there's more pressure now because of social media to make your life revolve around your kids. And then parents are actually doing more things because they're trying to now compete with the parenting hacks on Instagram or TikTok. Yeah. I don't have TikTok, well-documented situation.
It's a great app.
But like there's this thing of like, so I think one of the things that like the best thing, and again, I'm a father to sons, so it's different for different people. But someone said, hey, the best thing you can do for your sons is demonstrate what it looks like to love their mom and prioritize her. And so like I try to prioritize my marriage over my kids. That shouldn't be like a hot take, but I think it is. People are like, no, prioritize your kids over your marriage. I don't think that goes well. Because even like I was, again, talking to some empty nesters this week, and they're like, yeah, our kids left, and we looked at each other. We're like, who are you? And I think that's kind of natural, like, because your life can revolve around them. For me, like, I hope my sons see how I treat Kristen as a model and example. And if I'm always deprioritizing her to make sure we're giving them what they want, then it's like I'm giving them a false narrative that the world revolves around you, and it doesn't. But I think most parents are making the world revolve around their kids today. And I don't know, ask me in 30 years. But I'm like, I'm not sure that's good, because the world is not going to revolve around you. So if you create a home that revolved around you as a kid, and you're like, well, I expect everyone to cater to me. When they get into real life, as soon as they leave the nest, like, wait a minute, no one caters to you. So I think, and I want them to like, I just want them to, I hope my sons are great husbands to the women that they marry. You know what I mean? Like, and I hope they look back and think like, man, my dad really prioritized my mom. And I hope that that's like a model for them. Cause I just think that's the thing. So I think that's one thing I've seen is like, and piece of advice I've taken is like, hey, don't deprioritize your marriage for the sake of your kids. And it's so easy to do.
Yeah. And it's always fascinating to think through like even what you remember of your parents, right? Of like, I don't know if we had a lot of family values. Like we didn't have them plastered on the wall.
Yeah.
If we did, right?
I see people do that and I'm like, gosh, I suck as a dad.
100%. Yeah, you do. You see, and there's always, and that's the thing too. We could pull in a 70-year-old that's been successful in parenting. And by the way, probably lots of wise stuff, way wiser than what we're going to say today. At the same time, it's like, well, like, what does it practically look like in your life? And what are the things that you remember about your parents? What do you think are the things that your kids are going to remember about you? And like, it is unique when I think about, my parents, and they did have one funny thing where they would always say, Martz is our leaders. So, whatever.
Yeah.
That was always their thing. So maybe that is value. But the rest is like, man, everything I saw from them is, when I'm going to bed at 4 a.m. because I am more like Kristen on that end. Okay. When I'm going to bed at 4 a.m. and my dad's woken up at 4 a.m. and he's reading the Bible in the living room, I'm like, that's what I remember. Like the dude did it every day. Like he was the most consistent person. It's the times that I wrecked the car and I left a note for him to like, hey, wake me up in the morning. And I had to come to him and he's like understanding.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I was not expecting that. And like every day he was the same dad that I didn't have to come in and be like, man, I wonder if he's grumpy today or if he's mad today or what happened today. I'm like, yeah, he's always the same guy. Like I know where the line is no matter what. Yeah. And it is so like, it's the value of discipline, the value of consistency, the value of being the same person every day and showing up the same way. Those are things that never needed to be plastered on the walls. And so there are moments where, I do feel that way. You're always going to feel probably like you're failing as a parent, even if you're giving it everything you got. Yeah. Because you're right. There's always somebody smarter or somebody doing something cooler. Or you see something on social media and you see the highlight reel and you're like, gosh, I should be like more like that. And we should take vacations like that. And we should have those things on our walls and we should be more strategic. And, you never know what it looks like on the other side. And that's not to say don't try hard. Like you should. But at the same time, the reality is always very unique of what's actually going to be remembered. And there was one thing I always remember about both my parents, and still to this day, I'm like, the thing I cherish the most is, I really believe that they enjoyed me and my sister.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's the reality. And that's why I want to go back. And that's why I'm like, yeah, let's grab lunch. That's why, because I'm like, they genuinely enjoyed me.
Wow.
Even when I was a turd, right? Even when I was a knucklehead and I was, doing all these dumb stuff. I'm like, man, they enjoyed us, and it like shows today.
Yeah.
So I feel it today.
That's that's like, I think every parent listening would benefit from thinking about that. Do my kids know that I enjoy them, or are you allowing the stress of it all to make you?
Yeah. And you may be like, I didn't have parents like that. And the reality is like, I ran in your family until I ran into you. And you break that cycle. Yeah. And like, this is, from this moment on, here's what I'm deciding. Right. Yeah. There's a lot of trivial things that get in the way.
There's so many things about even just like parents who are like, well, I don't want to do that. Like we all have that list, and my kids will have that list about me. Yeah, my dad is awesome, but here's one thing that I would want to do different. Like we're all human. But that idea of like, do they enjoy you? Like I talk about neighbor Brad a lot. He's early 60s. His two daughters are early 30s, late 20s. And I watch how they interact. Like they're just, Brad and Tammy are older than us, and like we're in between him and his kids age wise. But I watch how his adult kids like come over to their house all the time. And it's like, I hope my boys do that. So like their interactions, like it's a model for me. I'm like, I hope when my sons grow up that them and their families want to come over, because what you just said, like oh yeah, like our house is awesome. We want you here. Like we enjoy you. We like having you here. You know, you're not a burden. And there are times that it can feel like a burden. Like family is a lot, you know? Yeah. Man, that's like I'm gonna go home thinking about that. You know, do my kids know that I enjoy them?
And even at a young age, I found like your kids are so observant. You know, even if they don't say it.
It's so it gets worse too, man.
It's scary, man. I don't like that.
Yeah.
So that's the discipline phase, right? Okay, Doug, you can't say that anymore. You know, they'll repeat it. But it is so fascinating how like very clearly, like they can tell if you enjoy being around them. Like they're self-aware enough or aware enough of the situation. And you know when someone enjoys being around you. Like it's very obvious. And there are people that make that kind of environment amazing. In fact, we've got people every single weekend that serve on our connections team, on our Kid Point team, like on our worship team, like that produce that kind of environment for a place, and not out of like a fake thing, out of like a genuine like love for people.
Yeah.
And to have that kind of home that same way, to be like, man, I genuinely enjoy you guys. Like I love being in the presence of you. Like this is so much fun. And it doesn't mean every moment is fun, but like, you know, there is a just like, it's very obvious when the enjoyment is lost, and what does it look like to get that back? And, you know, a lot of times it starts with, you know, what I found is it starts with the source. It starts with God and being like what, you know, there's a word that I used a couple times with you today that I like keep coming back to. It's this word abide. And it's like, you know, abide in you and I'll abide in me. So it is this like, this closeness to God that produces some of these things that you would have never imagined, right? When you're connected to the vine, when you're, you know, that would be language that we use pretty often.
John 15.
There we go. And there's something that is produced in you when you're doing that. Like there's something that flows through you when you are abiding that extends to your family.
Yeah.
That extends to, like, that's where people that show up on a Sunday they're not faking it. Like I'm sure you could, but for how long?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there's a genuine love and a genuine joy and a genuine hope that comes along that I mean, that would be the urge, is like, hey, if you're missing that, like, what does it look like? What does your source look like? How have you been plugging in? What is that, you know?
And I think too, for like the families that are like more structured, because I have friends who like, yeah, they're on this plan or they do this devotion together on, hey, every morning from 8 to 8:30,
I
we do
admire
this as a family.
You know?
Like, and I think you should do that but as long as it's coming from that, if it's attached to the vine, you know, because you can also do that. I've also met a lot of North Pointers. Like, yeah, I grew up in that family, and it was rigid, and it was mean, and it was like this thing. If I didn't have my memory verses down, my dad, you know, like, so I think that's the thing of like, it's not like, you know, it's divine. Are you abiding? Is it relational? You know, is it, you know, those things matter. One thing I got to shout out a North Pointer, the Stewart family, Josh Stewart's around North Point next. He started something called Rally. I was in a meeting recently, they were talking about it. I think it's called Rally Your Family. But basically what he does is they'll come in, their company will come in and like do an interview with your family and like help you define your family values. And they create this like family seal out of it. But it's like not old school. Like it's like modern, cool, new. I was looking at it online. I'm like, this is sick.
You know what I want a crest.
Yeah, they do that. Like, they create a crest.
And now whenever I ink my letters, which I've never done before, but like, and I wax it, I want that crest to be right there.
Yeah, exactly. And it's going to give me a really elaborate M, the Martz.
Yeah. I've always thought like a shield of some sort.
Yeah, maybe a dragon or
medieval.
Like a,
very Latvian.
Yeah, something like Latvia. When in Latvia, do as the Latvians do. Yeah. But that idea of like, you get like a word, like what does your family stand for?
Totally.
And because I do have some of those things with my kids. Hey, Williams, hey, we're Williams. Because we're Williams, we don't do this. Or we're going to do this. This is what we do. You know, this is how we talk to people. This is how we, you know. And so whether it's like explicit, like this is exactly black and white what we do, or it's implied, I think your kids should have an understanding of what your last name means. Because if you don't do that, they're just going to kind of go the way of how everything else is going. And so the ways you want your kids to be different, be intentional about it in a way. Yeah. But anyway, check out Rally Your Family.
Oh, I like that.
It's pretty cool.
Well, it's good to be back.
Welcome back to the saddle.
It's good to have you back.
Thanks.
I hope you're back next week.
I am back next week.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I'm not going anywhere.
Riff, we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Riff. We'll have a brand new episode every week, wherever you find podcasts.